It is Talking Reds. We are in association with NordVPN from now for the rest of the year. Huge thanks to them, and huge thanks to you for joining us on this lovely Liverpool Wednesday morning as we look ahead to Liverpool's Champions League game. They're away in Leipzig. We're here. A couple of the lads have gone over, arrived. They're safe and sound, it seems, and I've seen some great videos, some nice digs. Fair play to the people who've sort of got them, who've got over, and hopefully they'll see a decent Liverpool performance tonight. But before all that, I've got Rob and Josh, and I want to talk a little bit about the Champions League games last night because, you know, they're all relevant. Everyone's starting to clock. I saw Pete Bolster tweet that, hang on, I thought we were all playing the same teams. Like we're all learning and we're all clocking that basically none of the game matters and every game matters.
Yeah.
So every fixture.
I know what he means. What Pete said, didn't he? He said, "Hang on, our Dortmund playing Madrid, and we're playing Madrid, but we're not playing Dortmund. How does that work?"
Yeah. That was basically, it's a random draw. It was all still learning, but you pick 8 teams, 2 from each pot, and
Liverpool get all the hardest ones.
But we're all in a big old league.
Things like speed dating, isn't it? At the end of the day, something like that.
It is a little bit like Julio. Before you slip, it is a bit like speed dating, and at the end Julio wins. But it's, you know, every game sort of matters. So I was sort of watching last night out of interest because there was a couple of teams who needed to win. Dortmund, Real Madrid was a laugh. It was much more of a laugh when Dortmund were 2-0 up. But it was a sort of a decent game to watch. I didn't see any of the Arsenal one because I was watching the goals show, and they weren't allowed to show Arsenal for some reason. It was all of the goals, brackets, not
Arsenal.
Not all the goals.
Only the one anyway.
Yeah. Well, apparently they toiled. Which is interesting ahead of our game on Saturday.
Yeah, it seems like they've got a couple of injury issues, like even off the back of that, don't they? Yeah, Calafiori went off. There's obviously a couple that are sort of lingering from the weekend and a little bit more longer term as well. It's a funny one really, because like the thing that I guess like Jurgen Klopp would have probably said back in the day when he's not sort of making excuses but doing his very funny Jurgen Klopp thing of like kind of making excuses, not making excuses, is that Arsenal have had more time to prepare for the game at the weekend by playing on the Tuesday.
They've started already.
Yeah.
The old Mourinho or Ferguson said the next game started, the press conference after the last one. Arteta's got it. He started. We've got another game, and he started the Liverpool game.
But I'm sure Arteta's such a tryhard that he'll be doing like loads of analysis of last night just to be like, oh yeah, we'll do it at the same pace as Liverpool, that kind of thing. Like he's already come out last night being like, we'll be flying into the Liverpool game and stuff. So he is just a weird bloke, to be honest. But the Madrid thing's so funny, isn't it? 'Cause I seen like loads of people sort of reacting live to it. Like I wasn't watching along with the game, but basically I get my Champions League coverage from Phil Blundell's Twitter.
Okay.
Because obviously there's the infamous incident of Phil Blundell when he chose to watch like fucking some bums instead of PSG and Barcelona, and it was like the best Champions League game ever besides the one against the Barcelona game against us. So he was sort of saying that like Madrid will finish 21st and like still conspire to win the Champions League, but they came back and won 3-2. It doesn't seem like they will finish 5-2, was it? Yeah. I gave up at 3-2, to be honest.
You've seen that.
Gave up the ghost at that point, but it's just funny really that like that's like, it feels like the most Madrid thing ever, but it feels like they find new ways to like be more Madrid, and I don't really understand how they keep finding these new levels to do it, but I mean, fair play to them. And it seems like Vinny's going to win Ballon d'Or as well, doesn't it?
Yeah, they're going to give him that, which is nice
for him. He plays for Real Madrid, fair enough. They're the ones that get the Ballon d'Or.
They do, yeah. And I mean, he's just saving it for Ryan Gravenberch, of course, but you know, it's a get it while he could on that, but. You know, the Arsenal, I guess, situation is the most important one from us from sort of a league point of view. Like I said, from a Champions League point of view, everyone's game is interesting for us. But I did have half an eye on what was going on at Arsenal if it wasn't sort of directly watching it. And they do seem to be not necessarily in a great place at the moment. You know, injuries mounting, and that can only be good news for Liverpool. I know adversity can pull people together and stuff like that, and they had a little bit last year when we played them and went there, and then they beat us well. But you know, I do think the less.
Didn't we have all the adversity then
for the league game?
Yeah, because we had loads of injuries of that game. There was no Salah, no Trent, no Szoboszlai, and Robbo was out.
I don't know how much Rob remembers the adversity.
It's an adversity.
Say what you want.
Sorry, I know, seriously.
I just remember they were crying it in before. I never cried it in. We're boss.
I knew Ibu got sent off. No, I'm sorry. Our university top trumps.
This really is an university off, because I'd say Rob would always cry it in and you never do. So.
But go on, John. Let's assume you were right.
Well, I'm just talking about from their point of view, the fact that I would much rather a team we were going to, especially a top team, had problems than none.
Yeah, you can't. We said we don't. just off air, we don't want to tempt fate, do we? We don't want to go, ha ha. And I think if you even go public, anywhere near public, I think I'm scarred from 2014 when Mourinho was going to famously put out 8 reserves against Liverpool because he had a Champions League coming up, and everyone was going, well, it's going to be that bit easier. You can't allow that to enter the mindset. If it enters our mindset, we assume it enters the players' mindset because they're equally unprofessional. But well, that is the dumb narrative of pundits like us. You sort of think, don't even say it because they might think it too. But I don't know.
They might have 6 pints before kick-off.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, if Arteta thinks he's going to be flying by the time of kick-off, watch me go on Sunday. It's a 5-pint game, isn't it, or whatever.
Small wines.
It does help. Look, the thing I've taken encouragement from, if we're looking for good vibes ahead of Sunday, is their form's not great. They're just not playing very well. They sort of get away with one a couple of weeks ago against Leicester when they're in the 96th minute and still 2-2 at home. I think it's only a week or so before that they'd drawn with Brighton, and coming off this weekend they had that beating at Bournemouth. So I think, I'm not saying injuries aren't the least of his problems, but it's nice to see the issues mounting for them. There's noise around whether Saka will be available or not. I mean, I think if a player's been out, you wonder whether he may make the cut, but is he going to come back as bouncing and fresh as he could be, as sharp and as venomous as he could be? I'm not so sure.
Yeah, I'm still enjoying the alliteration of beating at Brighton. Feels like a coach home
beating a batshit Brighton.
You didn't do your Saka pun either.
Sack of shit. That one. No, I'm definitely not going to do that.
No,
that's tempting fate.
That's
sorry.
Professional stuff we talked about.
Leave that to Harvey Elliott or someone.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
not sure I've singled Harvey out.
What did Harvey do wrong? Didn't he tear Harry Kane once when he was 15? Cut.
Believe it. What was I going to talk about before all that madness? That's the thing with the Saka thing, whether he's sort of playing or not. I think they'll give him every chance to sort of get onto the pitch, but it's whether he sort of should do, really. And we've said before with Liverpool is that when you've got injuries, you're even more tempted to play players maybe before they're sort of ready, and then they can either break down in the worst scenario or even in the best scenario, just clearly sort of not be quite right. And I think if Calafiore's out for them, he's a big miss. I've been really impressed with him, the energy that he brings. He's got goals already and assists. Obviously he's a good defender, but he just seems to have sort of lifted them. And I'll be pleased if he's not on the team sheet from a point of view of someone who looks like he's a big game player. And so it is just starting to mount. And also they've gone fucking mad. And that's interesting as well because it's early to go mad.
Yeah, I feel like they've got potential for that, though, don't they? At least like the very social media Arsenal fans do. Like they are like they've
always had a 6 out of 10.
Yeah, they're a football Twitter fan base, which is just I don't know if you even class that as a fan base really, but as a football Twitter fan base, Arsenal seem to be the maddest of the lot. And yeah, I seen a couple of the essays over the weekend of them like calling out all sorts of corruption in PGMOL, which was nice of the lads to be getting stuck into that when it's no longer affecting them. Again, where were they all on the Luis Diaz Tottenham thing?
Someone found a penalty that they said Liverpool should have conceded, and it was Martin Skirl.
Yeah.
I think at that point we've all got to take a step back and say, like,
come on,
they're going to be hiring Clat, aren't they? Clattenburg, like Forrest did, just to sort things out.
I seen where it was David Luiz, like there was David Luiz for Arsenal thing, and someone just quoted him was like, "Is that David Luiz? Like, are we going that far back to be like, yeah, they'll be pulling out like Martin Keown ones next and stuff like that." It can go either way on the injuries thing though, can't it? Because I think like the little bit of the Arsenal game that I did catch last night, Martinelli makes a great run. I was looking at him almost being like it's it would be just the most typical thing ever for him to just come into form when we're all sort of almost like, I guess no, Rob's not laughing, but some people may be laughing at the amount of injuries that Arsenal have. So yeah, it's one of them where like they could do the thing that you're saying and overextend and play a couple of lads, and I think Slot's been burnt a little bit by that so far. Like I think Jota had a bit of a concern coming out of the Palace game, didn't he? And then going into the international break, and then he plays against Chelsea and breaks down. Alisson had the sort of hamstring issues a little bit earlier in the season, and then does it at Palace properly. So like we're already seeing the downside of that, of risking lads who do have a bit of a question mark over them. So I'll be dead interested to see the way Arteta plays it, because he's going to have to sort of play the game down to his players a bit. Although I say that, and last time he played against Liverpool, well, a couple of years ago when he played against Liverpool, he was playing You Never Walk Alone on the training pitch and stuff, wasn't he? So he's just enough of a lunatic where I honestly don't know which direction he could take it, but you'd imagine that any sort of sane fella would try and play its importance down and not be risking loads of lads who have question marks over them.
I think he's going to do press conferences every day. He's going to do a press conference after our game, like the WWA. Watch them shite, nothing to worry about. We're going to be more ready than them. We have got the game tonight. I'll get into a bit more into team selection in a minute in part 2. But you talked there about form, and I think the point on Arsenal having an extra day's rest and stuff like that by Josh is a good one. But I think there's no substitute for going into a game feeling like you're playing well. I think that feels like almost better than a rest to me. And I think if they can get a good win tonight, I'd much rather that than the sort of extra day rest and a bit of a shaky one.
Yeah, momentum and confidence that comes from form trumps a day, a day's rest. And I know we're going to come on to team selection. Injuries are going to loom large, I think, ahead of this. We've already got them coming into the game. But I agree with you. We're obviously in rude health. Is it 9 wins from 10 or 10 from 11? I'm losing track. We're not flying in terms of our form, but then again, if you beat a top rival like Chelsea, you don't expect to, necessarily to do them 4-0 at this stage of the season. But yeah, I said we're in much better health than Arsenal. It's a bit of a a cusp kind of game, I think, because if we get a result we want, and I include a draw in amongst the results we'll really like, a win would be superb. I think that's a really nice platform then, Chelsea, and not losing at Arsenal, whatever the outcome is, for us to push on then. I think if they drop points, I don't think whereas a draw with Liverpool should never really make them feel gutted about themselves. I think a draw on the back of the points they've dropped, someone will then say, hang on, they've dropped points in 4 of their last 6 games. It'll be something like that if you go back to City and Brighton and Bournemouth, and if it's us, you know what I mean? It's going to be, I don't know, maybe 4 out of 6, 4 out of 7. Their league form will look something, it isn't very close to title winning. So the pressure is on them. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah. Absolutely. I'm just going to ask Josh to bring in a couple of comments in a minute, but just while I give him a chance, I just want to let you know about a few opportunities to hang out with the Anfield Wrap if you do so choose. So tonight we're going to be at Gravity Max, so we're watching the game at Gravity Max. We'll be upstairs. There's big screens inside and outside. We'll judge the weather. I was just saying to Rob, there is like heaters. The outside space is great, and there is sort of heaters out there, so we might try that, but if it's a bit much, we'll be going inside. But either way, they've got big massive screens, and we're looking forward to getting down there, having some food, some drinks, and watching the game. And then we'll be doing the post-match pints and the post-match show from there as well. So if you always want to watch one of those, either one, pick your favourites. Then tonight is your chance. It's completely free. We're just doing it because it's nice to sort of all watch these games together while we can. So yeah, Gravity Max tonight if you fancy it. Another thing I do want to give a shout out to as well is the event that we're involved in on Saturday at Blackstock Market, which will be me talking to Jamie Carragher all about his Liverpool career and a bit on the now as well, and the stuff he's doing with Sky. So that's going to be at Blackstock Market on Saturday. Tickets are still available. We've also got Adam Rowe, which is amazing, doing some stand-up on the day as well, so it should be a fantastic afternoon. So if you want to come down, tickets are still available. If you go to the Blackstock Market website, it's Hot Water Comedy, it's where their home is. If you get yourself along to there, tickets are £30, or you can pay £200 and you get a signed 2005 shirt from Jamie Carragher. All the money is going to Zoe's Place, so it's a fundraiser for Zoe's Place. People will have seen, I'm sure, there's lots of stuff going on at the moment for Liverpool businesses and people and Liverpool supporters all around the world who are trying to raise money at the moment to keep Zoe's Place open, and the amazing work that they do keeping that available. So it is complete fundraiser. All the money that is raised from the event, and everyone's giving up the time for free. The venue's giving it for nothing as well, so it should be really good. There's going to be a great raffle and a fantastic auction on the day as well, but do try and come down if you can. It's this Saturday, it's the afternoon. Don't come in the evening because you'll miss it. It's Saturday afternoon. Doors are 12, and I think Adam's on about 1, and then me and Jamie I think from about 2, half 2. So I'd love to see you there. And then also next international break in November, I think it's the 16th, the Saturday, again again, it's an afternoon show. We're going to be in Glasgow. So if you are in Scotland or you just fancy going to Glasgow because it's a fucking class city, let's be honest, then Saturday afternoon in the Record Factory, which I've been to, is an amazing space. It's where the Glasgow Supporters Club actually meet. We're going to be in there that Saturday afternoon in the international break. Tickets aren't on sale just yet. We're going to give a couple of days for the Glasgow Supporters Club to get what they want, to give them first dibs because they've been really helpful in putting it on, and then we'll put the tickets on sale later in the week. So just keep a little eye out for that, and maybe give us a shout later in the week if you can't see that. But Josh, any comments before we move on?
Just a couple about Szoboszlai, which is interesting really, given the context of us playing against his old team tonight. I do imagine he will start the game tonight, but Scott McCauley's been on first and he says, morning all, excited to see Arnie's Reds again tonight. Really hope we prioritise Sunday with the team selection. A draw tonight is absolutely fine. There's one from where was the Szoboszlai one? I've just read that out thinking it was Szoboszlai one. This is the one. Heisenberg says, thoughts on Sobbo, seems to be struggling on the ball for a long time now. And then there was another one about starting Jones for Szoboszlai in the Arsenal game. So a bit of Szoboszlai criticism at the moment, which I think is probably valid to an extent. That the manager probably doesn't help it in the sense that he'd sort of put the gauntlet down to him earlier in the season, talking about him needing to post better numbers in terms of goals and assists. But I'm interested to know what you two are thinking of Szoboszlai at the moment.
Yeah, well, I'll put it up to you, Rob. I personally think it's been a bit exaggerated. I think he's had good games this season, and I think pretty much every game when he's been on the pitch, there's been one or two sort of poor performances from him, but most of the time he's contributed sort of on the pitch. I think maybe a little bit more defensively and off the ball than on it. He has got that goal in the Champions League. I think there's more to come from him. I'd be interested to see if someone else got a run in the team in that position, whether they found it hard as well. Is it what he's being sort of asked to do? He's did an interview in the week, or might have been even when he was with Hungary, where he was like, I'm being asked to do a lot of the dirty work, but that's fine, I don't mind. I just wonder whether he's being asked to sort of sacrifice himself a little bit for the team, or whether we should just be expecting more from him because he is such a talented player.
In a way, I think everything's true.
Yeah.
And I'm a big fan of Szoboszlai, and I think as a 23-year-old playing in a hard position on the pitch, what's expected of him, the intensity expected of him, I think he's done fantastically. I think he's got nothing to worry about in terms of his Liverpool career to date. And my advice to him, I'm sure he's watching.
Very unprofessional of him.
Send us your comments, Dom. Yeah, he's got nothing to rebuke himself about. Yeah. Of course, he can get better. Of course, there are things he would want to do better, more consistently. And I'm fairly confident he will. I think he had a very, very good first month at Liverpool. A first month that got out of hand with some people's perspective. I'm comparing him to Gerrard, which is a ridiculous comparison to hoist on any young midfielder. And then suddenly in the second half of the season, when he came back after an injury, a hamstring injury, which kept him out for 5 or 6 weeks, he was suddenly supposed to be a shadow of the player he'd been. I disagreed with that entirely. I think, yes, so, you if you see him misplace a pass, it's a grown moment. And because he scored a few worldies early on in his Liverpool career, why is he not doing that anymore? But the pressing and the harrying and the physicality and the endurance he has as a footballer are things. To me, it's his first name on the team sheet, but I want him to play all the time. And I love Curtis Jones, but not at the expense of Dominic Szoboszlai. I have to say, surprised maybe to see him brought out in front of the media yesterday, because it tends to suggest that he's starting. I want him fresh, even though he's a machine physically. I want him fresh for Sunday. But maybe Arne's sending Leipzig false signals, a bit of misdirection. Maybe he won't start.
I think they've done a little Mickey with Matip before, haven't they? When Matip did the press conference and then didn't play in the game, so they've got some form for that.
I mean, we're all still learning about the manager and how he sort of maybe does something differently. I would be surprised if he does leave him out for tonight and place Jones further forward, and then you see him sort of come back in. But he does love picking him, and yes, there's the Elliott injury, which maybe means he's had more minutes than he would have done if Elliott would have been around. But I think he just would have used Elliott more, from a rotational point of view. I think he really likes Szoboszlai, and I think if he was sat here now, he'd be saying, like, Well, I think he's doing really well. And he is sort of the most important man. No offence, Rob.
And this is where Rob's right to say, like, it's sort of all of the above. Is that, like, I think the manager, as I say before, like, did throw the gauntlet down to him earlier in the season. I think he would double down on that if he was sat here with us now. But he'd also say, like, you know, exactly what Szoboszlai said. He is doing a lot of the dirty work. I think he's probably got the hardest position for Liverpool this season, and that it's definitely the most ground to cover of any Liverpool player this season. Like, I've not seen any of the distance covered stats from the season, but I'd honestly not be surprised to see that he was right up there in terms of distance cover, because it feels like he's got just the biggest area. Like, he's expected to be basically an 8 who comes back to the centre circle and does bits of picking up the ball and making tackles there, but then he's also got to be basically the second striker in this system. So it'll be interesting to see the way Liverpool do rotate it. I think I'm in the same boat as you in that I wouldn't see it being Jones starting in there against Arsenal, like BB42 said in the comments. I think that would be tonight if they do make that switch. But there's another comment from Real Talk who says Federico Chiesa being written off, and this is what's sort of frustrating about the Chiesa thing, is like, this game tonight would be perfect to allow Szoboszlai to be rotated, to have Chiesa playing that 10, because he seems like probably the most versatile option they have, and I think Slot is wanting to be really careful around how versatile he is. He sort of uses Gakpo this season, because we saw Klopp last season sort of regret almost using Gakpo as a midfielder at times, and Gakpo's, you know, excelled so much off the left wing, hasn't he? So I think the manager will continue to be really careful in the way he rotates around that. But I mean, the Chiesa thing is just a bit mind blowing at this stage, isn't it? Really?
Well, I mean, it is and it isn't, Rob. I mean, it'd be nice to know, you know, on a lot of things, you know, how the manager sort of truly feels about it. You know, he's come out in the press conference yesterday and said, listen, it's intense, the league's intense, so our training needs to be intense, and it's just a bit intense for him because he's not had a pre-season and stuff like that. We've been scarred, Alpha Melo's been brought up and stuff like that, but, you know, we've already seen more of him than we saw of Melo, you know, in a short amount of time. Should we be concerned, you know, is it the idea that, you know, almost like write him off and anything that we get is a bonus, or is it sort of more to that really, or is it actually, you know, if you forget about things that have happened in the past with other players, is it sort of understandable that a player coming to a different league who's had some issues, who's had not much of a pre-season, you know, might take a little bit of a while for his body to be durable enough?
I'm not happy about this Chiesa situation. And the problem is, and I know it can be that my level of not happiness is probably, I'm not alone in feeling it, is seen as just fan fretting, fan paranoia. But we do live in a semi-vacuum. And I know the manager gave an explanation yesterday, but it wasn't categorical enough. He doesn't have to do that for my benefit. But it creates a vacuum, I think. I would like him to say, look, this is what's happened. We're putting projection on it. We're going to give him a month, 6 weeks out, and we're going to give him a pre-season. We'll start again. If it was that, I think it would calm. I wouldn't like it, but I think it would calm nerves. It's this sort of, it's the non-specific nature of it, because the context of the player coming in is, one, he's our only signing of the summer. Our only signing of the summer with a new manager where we thought we'd make signings. The club came in for a lot of criticism. Probably mainly correct criticism, quite frankly, for not buying a single player. They were unlucky with Zubamendi, but that notwithstanding, the criticism felt justified up to a reasonable extent. It was, what's the word? You could go past it a bit when you sign a player of the potential quality of Chiesa, going, oh, hang on, they have signed him now. But there was the question marks over his fitness. He'd played a lot for Juventus last year, but generally his track record wasn't fantastic. And obviously he'd had this big ACL issue a couple of years ago. So we're entitled to be anxious about it, I think, as fans. And I think I personally would just like a little bit more categorical information. I know they don't have to say it's Tuesday in 3 weeks' time that he's back playing. They can't do that. But I personally think it needs to go a little further. Unless we are to just go into the mindset you've hinted at, John, which is just, for fuck's sake, it's just a bonus. Yeah. He's another one of them. I did fear the back of my mind. I did want to voice it. Please God, let him not be another Lippmann, another Kuhl, never mind an Arthur Melo. You know what I mean? One of those greats you get in, you're so excited about, but they just don't have the body for it. We're getting the Duff version of it. I mean, I could list a few others, actually.
Cole.
Even Balotelli. You know, those who came in with massive reps, had done it at the highest level, but just could never do it for Liverpool, mainly because their bodies weren't up to it. Sometimes it's a mentality issue, but their bodies weren't up to it. So I'd like to fear we're not at that stage this early on in the Chiesa project, and it probably is silly paranoia for me to even be thinking this way, but I am.
That's the reality. Okay, I'm going to ask the lads to pick a team in a minute, and also we're going to get a couple more of your comments before you finish. But before that, I do want to give a huge shout out to NordVPN for partnering with us for this run of Talking Reds. They've got a fantastic offer for you. If you go to nordvpn.com/TAW, it will list all the fantastic benefits of NordVPN. It'll also give you 4 months extra on your subscription as well, and it'll give you all the details of the many benefits, including the main one that I use it for currently, as well as the extra privacy settings and security stuff, is being able to switch your virtual location with just the click of a button to another country that's maybe showing a sporting event or a TV show or something that's happening in the world that I want to watch that I can't where I am, but it does open it up. I'm also going to America for a couple of weeks from Sunday as well, so it'll allow me to do that the other way. Anything that's not on there but is on in the UK, I'll be able to click my button on the NordVPN and change my virtual location and get access to all the UK shows that I don't want to miss too. So that is just one thing that is the benefit from it. So that web address again is nordvpn.com/TAW. That's nordvpn.com/TAW. It's the 30-day money back guarantee as well, is worth mentioning. So if you're not sure, you download it, it's not for you, to that confidence that you've got that 30-day money back guarantee. And it's also available on up to 10 devices now as well. But thanks a lot to Nord. Do you want to do comments first? Do you want to do teams? What are you feeling?
We'll go with just this one last comment, because it'll probably leave after that. But this was
Scott mum, isn't it?
She said fuck off, Rob. No, Scott McCauley, this is the one I was meant to read out before. So he said, so Virgil wants 2 more years on the same money. This feels really fair from Virg. Big questions need to be asked if we don't manage to re-sign him. I would
How does he know?
I would temper that idea with that. So that's just a rumour that's going around the internet at the moment. But I'm keen again. I'm keen to get your thoughts on it, both of you, because if it is that, because it could be a leak from Van Dijk's team, you never really know with these things, do you? But if it is that, I would probably agree with Scott in that. I think it's an absolute no-brainer for Liverpool.
Yeah, that if it is that, I would be
2 years same money this.
I'll be biting the hands off. I think that's fair for everyone as well. I think that is fair to all concerned. I mean, the problem is we don't know what people are asking, and another thing I'd love to know that we don't know is just sort of how relaxed they are, because we're all sort of losing our heads a little bit, because we're passionate and we love these players and we want them to stay. Behind the scenes, they all might be sort of fairly relaxed about it and feel like it's progressing well, and feel like actually, we're with the team playing so well and all these individuals playing so well, we're quite happy for it to take a little bit longer to get what's a good deal for the club as well as a good deal for the player. So, how calm they are behind the scenes, I think will be an interesting one. But as Rob alluded to before, we're not going to get that. But Virgil feels like the easiest one to do for me. It's always sort of felt like that. The one that'll end up being most straightforward. If it is that, it wouldn't surprise me if it's the first one that they announce.
Yeah, I think it feels the easiest, and also the one unambiguously you go, he's at his peak still. He's probably going to be at his peak at least 2 more years. So it's not like with a forward like Salah, you might go, forwards can lose even more pace and fall off a cliff. The rumour being out there, however credible it is or isn't, you always sort of say, well, who's put it out there? Because it's painting Virgil as all Virgil wants is the same money for 2 more years. Suggests if there's anything in it, it's got to be coming from Virgil's agent. There's another rumour that's circulating out there from a friend, Indy Kyler, who seems to have information that Trent also only wants a certain amount of money, but the sticking point, allegedly, and the reason I raise this is because I hypothesised about this on one of our gutter shows a few weeks ago, is re-signing on fees. Now, this is what I think players aren't putting out there in the media, and I don't think clubs are much anymore. The Mbappe one was instructive. I think Mbappe's reported money is something like a modest $500,000 a week, not the enormous figures that were talked once. But didn't he get a signing on fee of like 90 million?
Yeah, I mean, that was a slightly different scenario because he moved on a free agency, but I think players are within the rights to say, well, hang on, I am effectively a free agent in the summer, so I'm going to sort of want something.
Well, that's my point. He is a free agent. You have to, if Virgil van Dijk goes, if you don't have me next season, how much are you paying for the lad who's going to play like me? Trent can say the same thing too, and so can Salah. So they can say, I'm not going to make you pay 100 million, but I'd like 50 million. Or Virgil might, I don't know what the numbers are. So Virgil's camp, I'm just hypothesising here, maybe saying, hey, we only want the same money for 2 more years and 20 million signing on fee. Do you know what I mean? They might be doing that. I think the signing on fees are the something in the room, the elephant in the room that isn't in the public domain.
What signing on fees sort of also do is in a way sort of allow the club to tell a story on wages as well that's not necessarily true. So Salah or whoever they've signed on, it's within the wage structure and stuff like that, and everyone's getting weighed in. Agents' fees is one to watch as well. Liverpool have had, when you look at the finances for some summers where we've not bought anyone, you look at the agents' fees, you're like, hang on. But what they're getting is for stuff like this, like they'll sort of want weighing in as well. I gather in the past there's money gone to agents just to sort of not rock the boat and stuff like that. That's not necessarily at Liverpool, but generally, keeping clients out the papers and sort of stuff like that from a transfer point of view. I'm talking now, so it is sort of all these things really, but again, it just goes back to I do think that Virgil will be feels like the one that would be the easiest to do, and wouldn't be surprised if it is announced first, but we shall see. Probably not before tonight.
Yeah, the thing is with the Virgil one is it feels like he's been the one who's talked for the longest about wanting to stay. Like we were all quite, I guess, shocked by the admission of Salah when he went on Sky and said that he wanted to stay, because we all sort of felt like maybe the Saudi thing was creeping closer towards happening. Obviously Trent's the one that we all think is going to be the most difficult, because it feels like there's the most will from the player side there to possibly move on. And again, we're all just guessing. It seems like Team Talk, obviously the black version of Team Talk have basically just guessed on they've guessed on Van Dijk's wage, and I reckon they've got it very wrong as well, because they said like 220 grand a week, which I think is not what he's actually on. So we're all ultimately playing a bit of guesswork at the moment, but it is going to be a thing that ultimately like comes back and reflects on the owners. And I do get a bit tired of the ownership conversation in general, but I can't, again, like I think I've said this on a couple of shows already, that like this season and in the summer, like I can't understand how it's good business when they've just had a summer where they've said it's been really difficult for Richard Hughes to go out and sign players, for them to basically just give themselves 3 or maybe even, I would argue, more players to have to go out and sign by letting these 3 go. Like Rob says, there's a world in which you can say we'd have to pay X amount to go and replace Van Dijk, X amount to go and replace Trent, X amount to go and replace Salah. Let's just think of that and put that money on the table for these players, and then you can tell whatever fucking story you want about the wages, because none of us lot are paying them. We just want to see the best players play for Liverpool, and Liverpool win loads of trophies.
Imagine the gutters though, Rob, if they all go. Oh, the summer.
I'll tell you what, that war chest better be big as well. I mean, yeah,
absolutely. Would have to be.
It doesn't bear thinking about the dough they'd have to lay down to replace them. That's the great. You do wonder, the nearer it gets to the end of the contracts, it so puts the power in the players' hands, and so increases their argument for, I'm virtually a free agent here, give me a signing on fee. Watch the space, I suppose.
Watch the space. But before all that, we have got a game tonight. The football, the important stuff. Obviously, we'll all be cheering on Liverpool tonight, wherever you come. If you can come along to Gravity Max, we'd love to see you. Like I said before, it's completely free. It's a great space to watch the footy. So if you can come and watch us tonight, we'll be doing the post-match stuff after there as well. So you can watch it live if you come along with us. Or for subscribers, it'll be up and out for you guys as soon as possible, that we can do it after the game. So great post-match reaction from tonight, and then from tomorrow, 24 hours after Mikel Arteta started building up to Arsenal, we'll have all our Arsenal previews starting as well. So great time to subscribe to the Anfield Wrap. It's a really exciting part of the season, this up until Christmas. Loads of big games, and we think we covered it better than anyone. So do subscribe to the Anfield Wrap if you're able to. We'd love to sort of have you on board and share the journey of all of us together. But in the meantime, thanks a lot to Ash for pulling all this together. For you guys for joining, and your comments, of course. For Josh and Rob, up the Reds. Maybe see you tonight. Cheers.
Bring your digital life to a whole new level with NordVPN. Choose the fastest VPN on the planet and explore the internet without interruption.